is an angle. So if you get the other situation, when do I use cosine law? Let's actually do that. Yeah, but looking at this triangle, how do you know? Side, angle, side situation, they call it. If you see that, and you go, what? Sass. That's what it says. Side, angle, side. The angle has to be in between the two sides though, right? Like it can't be over here, because then you'd use sine law. Or, this is a situation we're looking at today. Side, side, side. I'm going to use cosine law. Obviously, I need to find an angle there, because I know the three sides, okay? I can't use sine law, not going to help me. Let's see this. Example. That's going to be 8. That's going to be about half of it, which is 4. And that guy is going to be 7. And solve is the question. But let's just say find angle, and just to screw some of you kids up who love this ABC stuff, let's put E. So find angle E. Can I use sine law? Oh, I don't remember. Let me try. Let me check. I can go, that's what I want to find, so I know the side opposite that is 8. Okay? Because remember, I don't have to write sine law like this, right? And I noticed on the quiz, some of you guys, the first thing you did was flip it. Because I don't want to solve and cross multiply this. So the first thing you did was just write exactly the same thing upside down. Okay? You can do that. It's the same thing. If it helps, hey, fine, do it. Okay? So this is sine law, that's also sine law. If I'm solving for an angle, maybe I want to write it with the angles on top, because then I don't have to cross multiply first. Sounds good to me. Okay, so anyway, sine E over 8 is equal to, well, I don't even have any other letters here. Okay, E, maybe it makes sense to go F and G. So sine of G over the side opposite it is 7. Can I solve that? I have 2 unknowns. Can't do it again for the 12th time. Okay? You can't solve that. There's possibilities that I could put in that'll work, but I want one answer, not 26 different answers, one of which could be correct. Okay, so anyway, sine law doesn't help me. I need to use cosine law, which yesterday we saw as, here's one way we can write it. A squared is B squared and C squared minus 2BC cosine of big A. That's the angle. Okay, and I could write this, like I said, 26 different ways for every letter in the alphabet. I could write this for B, C, whatever. But that's it. That's cosine law. The one thing to pay attention of is this is always the angle opposite the side. But this thing is in the form of A squared equals everything else. Okay? But I don't want A squared here. I want the angle. So how do I solve this thing for the angle? I want cosine A equals everything else. So let's show you a little bit of algebra. Okay, so how do I get rid of B squared here? Because I want this in terms of that. I want this by itself. I want to get rid of this stuff. I want to get rid of that. I want to get rid of that. I may as well start here. That says positive B squared, right? So let's minus B squared. Whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, do to the other side. So I have A squared minus B squared is C squared minus 2BC cosine A. Everybody happy with that? All I did was subtract B squared to both sides, right? How do I get rid of C squared? Do the same thing. Let's minus it. It's gone. And now it's over there. Okay, I'll just work vertically. Make my page bigger. Wish I knew a quicker way to do this, but I haven't figured it out yet. Okay, so I have a squared minus b squared minus c squared is minus. That's the only thing I have left over on that side. Okay, I'm getting closer and closer to just cosine A by itself. How do I get rid of a negative and a 2 and a b and a c? That says negative 2 times cosine of A, doesn't it? It says B times cosine A. It says C times cosine A. What's the opposite of times negative 2bc times cosine of A? Divide by negative 2, that's gone. B, that's gone. C, and that's gone, right? Whatever you do to one side, do to the other side. Okay, and cosine A is by itself. So cosine of A is a squared minus b squared minus c squared all over negative 2bc. We just want to do one more thing. I don't want to see this negative here. So I'm going to divide that negative into all of these three things, okay? And I know that's maybe kind of tricky, but I can do that. So in other words, I'm going to flip the sign on everything on the right-hand side, okay? I'm going to take this negative in front of the 2 and stick it in there and change its sign. I'm going to take that negative, put it into that negative, and what's a negative divided by a negative? Positive b squared, now it is, okay? And this negative has to go into this negative c squared. What's a negative divided by a negative? Positive. Now, it's just 2bc positive. That is the other form of cosine law. That is solving for the angle, and that's how we want it. Now, I do know Math 11 foundation teachers in other schools who say, guess what, kids? You got to know how to do that. But because I'm a little more gullible and a bit of a pushover, I will supply that for you on the test. Are you all happy? Okay, yes, you're welcome. When's Christmas? All right, so that's one form of cosine law. This is just cosine law. I proved that's the same as this. You're going to use this if you're solving for a side, and you're going to use that if you're solving for an angle. And in this problem, I need to solve for an angle. Okay? So the only tricky part here, I'll get rid of that because I want to keep it on the same page. Okay, this is angle A. Which is the side opposite that angle? Little a. Okay? So just like we had this relationship here, that's where this side is. So if there's no A, B's, and C's, that's the only thing you need to worry about. Okay? B squared and C squared, it doesn't matter if I put C squared and B squared, it's not going to change, is it? Okay? Because I'm just adding them together. On the bottom I got B times C. It doesn't matter if I go C times B. But the one thing you have to watch out is that has to be the side opposite that angle. Oop, trying to get rid of my yellow stuff. Okay, so here's my line right there. So I want to find, for this example, angle E. This is cosine of E, so when I'm all done, I got to take the inverse cosine of it. Okay, I got three sides. Which ones go where? The only thing I have to be sure of is I have to subtract, that's the side opposite it, okay? That goes here. And that's 8, so that's minus 8 squared, and then I just have the other two. It doesn't matter what order they're in, okay? Call this one B if you want. It's actually little g. Call this one C if you want. It's actually little f. Okay? It doesn't matter. That's 7 squared and 4 squared. All over 2 times 7 times 4. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Would it be the same thing if I put 4 squared plus 7 squared? Yes. And I'm telling you that, even if you don't know that. On the bottom, 2 times 7 times 4, it's the same as 2 times 4 times 7. Okay? So that's what we do. Now, this, you need to be careful when you're putting it in your calculator. Because first I'll put it in wrong. Why is that wrong? I have to do all of this first and press equal, or I have to put it in brackets. Okay, so that's going to be wrong. The only thing I'm dividing the 2 into here on my calculator is the 8 squared. These guys are way out by themselves, right? Do you see that this is different than this? Okay? This is what I have there on my calculator. That's what my calculator thinks I'm doing when I do that. Okay? That's not the same thing as this. Everything here is divided by 2. So don't do that. I'm going to backtrack. And I'm just going to go equals. That's everything on the top. Ooh, that was nice. That's 1. Okay? So everything on the top, that's 1. Now I'm going to divide by 2. Is 7 on the top or the bottom? Bottom. So I'm going to divide by 7. Divide by 4. Does that seem weird? It'll work if you bracket them and multiply them. Otherwise, you have to divide each guy. Okay, so this is just calculator entry. Garbage in, garbage out. Okay? If you don't believe me, I'll do it in 2 steps in a sec. Okay, so cosine of E is, does that look like an angle? 0.01785. What haven't I done? Yes, that's the cosine of E. I don't care about the ratio. I want to know the angle. So the inverse cosine of that, I didn't clear my calculator. I put all that in is, that doesn't make any sense. Seven squared and 4 squared minus 8 squared. Let me try that again. Oh, I know. I'm in radians. Silly me. And I keep telling you guys. Okay, clear. So let's try that again. Inverse cosine of 0.017857. That should be enough. Okay, I got 6 digits in there. Now it looks like an angle, right? Rounded to the nearest degree, 89 degrees. Yeah, actually, no, 89 degrees, right? Okay, that's pretty close to 90, but anyway, that's my triangle. So just to prove it again, 7 squared and 4 squared minus 8 squared. If I just do the top, that's 1. If I just do the bottom, 2 times 7 times 4, I get 56. And then I'm sure that's 1 divided by 56, right? I should get this same number. Was that the same number? Yes, it is. Okay? So again, there's 4 different ways to put this in your calculator. I don't care which way you guys do it, but make sure you do it right. Okay? The way I do it is the whole top. It's the most efficient way. You don't need to put in all those brackets if you don't need to. Okay? Enter. Divided by that 1, divided by that, whoops. Not 2. Okay, divided by 4. Okay, that's the same thing. If If you want to use brackets, be my guest. Okay, I can't tell you what to do, but just make sure you do it right. That's all I can tell you. Okay? So that is not on the summary page like yesterday. It's actually where? On page 134, and it's not even boxed, okay? That's where it is. It's not on the summary page, because I guess this book expects you kids to be able to do that, algebraically get from there to there. Okay, but I'll be nice and I'll give it to you. Okay, one example enough? Just make sure that side is opposite that angle. The other two, doesn't matter where they are, okay? You can watch me do 60 of them, but you still don't know what you're doing. You got to do them. So, you noticed yesterday you did kind of half the questions, like number 6. Now, you're doing the other ones in 6, because these ones are solving for the angle. So, 3, 5, 6, C and D. And 8 and 9. Okay? So that's like kind of it for the chapter. It's just more and more practice. Sine law, cosine law, both of them put together, and then of course we're doing some word problems, okay? Gets a little trickier, but it's all the same stuff. Tests on Friday 13. Second month in a row.